All right, it is March 17th, 2021, and I think it's around the 1 year anniversary of when Washington State closed down most non essential businesses due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And I want to say it's an important anniversary for myself as well because the pandemic was what woke me up to my binge eating problems. And I corrected a lot of lifestyle issues revolving around binge eating, revolving around anxieties relating to it. And I'm very pleased with myself that I made the use of the pandemic. I see so many people who let the opportunities of the pandemic slip when they could be making good use of it. I'll talk about a few examples as I go in the video. Now, the problem with binge eating problems, the problem with any sort of addictive behavior, is that it's very difficult to tell that you have a binge eating disorder while you're eating. You can tell yourself you're really enjoying the food. You can tell yourself that you don't have a problem, you're just eating like anybody else would. The way to tell you have a binge eating problem is when something stops you from eating. It works in reverse. That's why it's so hard to tell that you have an addiction. So that first day of the pandemic, I went out to look for my favorite kielbasa sausages. I lived very close to a grocery store. I frequented the place. I didn't think it would be a problem. I just wanted to take my mind off of the pandemic. Not surprisingly, they were sold out. A lot of stuff was sold out. And I thought, well, the nearest grocery store is only a 5-minute walk away. I kind of need exercise anyway. I wasn't terribly concerned. I went to that store, and it was sold out. I went to 2 more stores, and they were sold out. Now, what was really funny was that my mom had called me while I was doing this, and she was worried for me because she knew I used to live out of my car. She didn't realize I had found a place just as I heard about the pandemic. My mom sometimes underestimates my ability to take care of myself, which is why I really despise going home to my family because I keep hearing that I don't know how to take care of myself. It sometimes subconsciously works to my detriment to constantly hear that I don't take care of myself. I don't want to hear it. Anyways, my mom was offering to overnight me some things that I might need, toilet paper and all that. And then she overheard me asking a store employee at the grocery store when they would get those kielbasa sausages. And she offered to overnight that to me as well. But I told my mom no, I didn't want her to go to the post office. She has some pre-existing health conditions. And I wasn't worried about getting sick myself. I was more worried about her at the time. That's how much I wanted those kielbasa sausages. I was willing to put myself at risk. I was willing to embarrass myself in front of everybody at the store. I mean, keep in mind, this is a small suburb of Seattle that I lived in. To be asking a store manager when they're going to get another package of kielbasa sausages, that can be really embarrassing. That you can't even control your eating habits. Anyways, it made me wake up to the fact that I wasn't really enjoying the kielbasa sausages. And that wasn't the only time I had a moment like that. A year before the pandemic, I had gone to that same grocery store, and they have a cafeteria, which, well, the cafeteria hasn't been open for a year now, but they used to. And I had gone to get a favorite frozen meal, and I had heated it up in the microwave. And then I went to get a fork, and they were out of forks. And so, okay, I'll go up to customer service and ask them. And I go up to customer service, hey, do you have any forks? And the customer service guy pointed me right back to where they were out of forks. And I got very frustrated because I wasn't happy with the fact that I was eating so much. And the guy pointing me to where the forks were and delaying my eating kind of forced me to recognize just how much I was eating. I used to only love eating when it was subconscious. As soon as somebody made me realize I was eating, I became very defensive. It kind of reminds me of I used to have a friend who had a drinking problem, or it was a roommate actually. He had a drinking problem. And if something happened that pointed out to him how much he had been drinking, right? If I needed to use the fridge and I moved his beer to another area of the fridge and it forced him to recognize that he was drinking so much because he couldn't find his beer, he got very defensive about that. He only wanted to drink when it was subconscious, right? It kind of reminded me of that. Anyways, the pandemic has kind of forced me to be aware of the fact that I'm eating, because going to the grocery store is a much bigger chore than it used to be just a year earlier, right? You got a social distance, the mask, the hours are very different, and all the rest, right? And sometimes things get sold out, and all the rest. But it's very difficult when things are flowing. You got your utensils, you don't have to social distance, you can eat any hour of the day, grocery store open 24 hours, nobody to stop you from eating, right? And especially if you have time to put aside to eat, it's very difficult to tell you have an eating disorder when conditions are perfect, right? It's the imperfect conditions that really highlight the fact of how big a problem you have, right?